Lindsey Wilson College Professor of Economics, Mohammad Pourheydarian. You are joining us at the Cafe on the Square here in downtown Columbia for Lindsey Wilson College Conversations. And the way this works is you get to enjoy a beverage of your choice while you get to discuss a topic of your choice. And the beverage you have chosen is coffee, brewed right here at Cafe on the Square in downtown Columbia. And the topic you have chosen is the economy, more specifically, the state of the economy. We hear a lot of terms right now being tossed around to describe the economy. The one we hear most often is recession. What is a recession?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. Technically speaking, recession means the economy getting slowed down for 2 quarters in a row, technically speaking. So basically means increase in unemployment rate, maybe decrease in GDP or stagnating GDP also in a sense can be called recession.
We also hear the term inflation being used. What is inflation?
Well, there are a bunch of terms very much close to each other and interrelated. One of them is inflation. Uh, Basically, it means prices in general going up. Of course, not the price of all goods and services, but overall in average. Some goods could decline in price, but mostly overall, the price level, that's what we call it, average price level of goods and services going up, we call it inflation. And there are more than one definition for inflation. The most popular one is what we call it CPI, or Consumer Price Index. Basically, it's about prices of goods and services that are used by average consumers. There are also other definitions such as PPI and also wholesale price, but the most popular one is based on CPI. The Social Security, the welfare check, the union contract with labor, all adjustments are done based on CPI. If CPI shows 3% increase in prices, all those checks go up by 3%.
Recently, we've heard the term deflation being used. What is deflation?
Exactly the opposite of inflation. It means decline in prices of goods and services in general, in average. There are other terms also involved that we can get into it later, but deflation basically means decline in prices of goods and services. Maybe we are in a deflationary period right now as we speak. Nothing is for sure, for certain, but because the time period is not long enough that we decide for sure that we have deflation, but it seems that we are in deflationary period, which does not happen very often. If we look at our history for last 120 plus years, a couple times we had deflation, but usually either prices stay the same or most likely we have increases in prices or we had inflation.
In the 1970s, we heard the term stagflation. What is stagflation?
Stagflation is a combination of two terms. The first part refers to a stagnating economy. The economy is not doing good. And the other side of it is what? Prices going up, inflation. So in a situation that you have both inflation, at the same time economy is not doing good, is stagnating, we call that situation stagflation.
This is probably the $2.1 trillion question, but how does an economy get out of a recession?
It depends what was the cause of recession. In regular time, usually recession starts from consumers. When consumer loses confidence due to inflation, usually that will be reflected in business environment. Business investment fluctuates many times more than consumers' consumption. That's something John Maynard Keynes calls it animal spirit. smallest, slightest hint from consumers' behavior will be reflected in business environment multi times of what it starts from. So recession usually starts with slowing down of demand for goods and services by consumer, then it will be reflected in business environment by many times more. But this time is a little bit different. This time we really don't know the exact scope of this recession that we are in and the exact causes. But we do have some ideas. We know it started from subprime mortgages and securities that were issued based on those mortgages. And then on top of that, a lot of businesses among financial institutions insuring each other without using the word insurance, because that would make them subject to a lot of rules and regulations, so they call it swap. And we are talking about between 50 to 60 trillion dollars. Trillion with T. So we don't know exactly what's happened, but we do have some ideas. And so this recession is different. It's being realistic, since the Great Depression of 1930s, we never had this kind of recession. It's deep. We are doing all we can. The Treasury, the Federal Reserve is trying very hard, as well as the Congress and the President Bush. Everybody is trying. Even President-elect Obama is trying to have some inputs. But God knows. It should take a while before we clean up this mess. And the reason is only 7% of subprime mortgages have been subject to foreclosure. It can increase. It's possible, it's not impossible. So different kinds of recession we have, very unique. It didn't start from consumers' behavior, rather from what? The functioning of financial institution, very unique.
Despite that, do you remain optimistic about the short-term and long-term future of the U.S. and world economy?
Yes, I'm optimistic. I think the basis for market economy is solid. The business environment is very good. The property right is protected. The rules of game is well defined. And eventually we get out of this problem as well. I would like also add that mild recession is not very bad. Actually, economists like mild recession. During the recessionary period, those producers that are not very efficient, they get out of the market and leave more room for what more efficient, more aggressive businesses. So makes our scarcity of resources a little bit more pleasant in the sense that more resources will be shifted to more efficient segments of the economy. So mild recession is okay. Actually could be useful. But if recession get out of control and get a yo-yo shape and moving up and down, then there is a point of concern for us. This recession is a little bit different, but I have no doubt that we will overcome this problem as well.
Lindsey Wilson College Professor of Economics, Mohammad Pourheydarian, thank you for joining us for Lindsey Wilson Conversations.
My pleasure. Thank you.